Hey there, everybody. How are you? Welcome back to the channel. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. And today I wanted to talk about some Battlefield. But before I get into that, I just wanted to let you all know that I stream on Twitch at Zombie Soundwave. I do that most mornings or afternoons and sometimes both. So if you're interested in that, please consider, following the Twitch channel, that kind of thing. And if you can't catch me live, I also upload the VODs on YouTube, typically the same day. So either one of those, consider following, consider subscribing, and anything like that helps. But today I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to try to do a, more short form content thing and just see how it goes. But anyway, I just wanted to let you all know that I do stream. So thank you for, any of that, like any of the watching or following or any of that. But anyway, let's get into the topic. Today I wanted to talk about Battlefield 6. I played the beta, and I was a little whelmed by it. I didn't dislike it. I didn't really love it either. So, to start with that, I do need to kind of disclaimer that I didn't play until the second weekend of the beta. Part of that is for a few different reasons. I was actually out of town for part of the first weekend, and then when I did finally get a chance to play it, they had some kind of weird thing going on with Xbox. Like, you had to have like Game Pass Ultimate, I think, to play it. So I just didn't get around to doing it during the first weekend. I didn't really feel like paying for Game Pass Ultimate at that time, and I thought I just wasn't gonna get a chance to play it. But they opened it up for weekend 2, so I jumped into it. And part of why I want to disclaimer this is I've heard some people saying that the second weekend of the beta wasn't as good as the first weekend of the beta. So I don't really know what to think about that, but I just wanted to get that kind of out in the air in case, my thoughts change on this as we get closer to launch, and launch and beyond and all of that. But so just to kind of talk about what I didn't love about Battlefield 6's beta. To begin with, I didn't love the maps. I know that's weird because I've seen a lot of people really complimenting some aspects of the maps. To get into the nitty gritty of why I didn't like the maps, I felt like New York, I liked quite a bit. I mean, New York's probably the one of the two I didn't like the most. That just to explain, like the verticality. With the verticality, I thought that I was getting taken out a lot by people that I couldn't really see. And again, that could be something that changes over time. I might feel differently about it as I learn the map more. But I just felt like there was a lot of just stuff coming from directions I just didn't really know where I was. That was another problem too. Just not only not knowing where enemies were coming from, but even just knowing exactly where I was on the map. And I'm sure that's stuff that I'm going to learn as well as I play. But I just felt like there was just a little too much of that, like just a little too much verticality, with all of the streets and pathways, which then also plugs into the rush mode. I felt like rush on the New York map was downright terrible. I mean, it was just, it did not work on that map. I've seen other content creators complain about that because I thought that was a problem with me. When I first started playing, I was like, man, maybe I just don't get rush. I know I've played rush in the past, but I haven't put a ton of time into rush. So I was like, well, maybe I'm just not doing very well in that mode. But it seems like other content creators were also not really digging the rush mode. So I don't think that was fully on me. I'm sure that there were aspects of that, but I think it's a mode that needs some improvement just in general as well. But yeah, I just felt like the New York map it wasn't bad. I don't want to go that far because I don't think it was a bad map. I just think like there's some things that I think maybe need to be tweaked about it. I don't know if they need to limit some of the verticality. I don't know if there needs to be some adjustments to something like destruction wise or pathway. I don't know. But I just felt like it was a map that every time it came up, I didn't really dread it, but I was kind of like, oh man, it's time for me to get, sniped from an angle. I don't really know where I'm getting sniped from. And a lot of like there's a place on the map that has kind of like a ramp down to a street. And I felt like every time I got onto that, I'd be fighting somebody in the building and another team or another member of the enemy team would come up from the ramp and they would, get me. I just felt like I was third-partied a lot on that map, and it just got frustrating. The other map is the Summit one that I'm not going to remember the name of either off the top of my head. I really should have looked at the names of these maps. But that one just feels too open. And, I know it's a weird thing to say about Battlefield, but, I feel like there's almost no cover for so much of that map. And, see, that's a weird thing, because I feel like that was something that they learned during 2042, was, hey, we should put more cover into some of these areas of the map. And that's, I don't think those rocks, there's, that, it's, point F, I think, or point E, I don't remember. But one of the points is, up on that kind of hill, that, mountainous area, and you have, a kind of watchtower up there and stuff. And if you're coming down that hill moving towards, I think it's point C, there are some rocks, but, for the most part, it's just kind of a sniper's delight. Both angles. I just feel like it's just a little too open. I don't think they need to cover it a lot, because I think it's still a good place for snipers to be in a good position. I just think that it needs to be just reworked a little bit to just make it a little easier for people to move through. I think, obviously there should be places for people to mess up and for snipers to get shots in, of course. But yeah, I just think ultimately something needs to change there. There needs to be a little bit more of an area to get behind some cover, to, make at least kind of some strategic plays of maybe I can counter a sniper by following this pathway. Maybe there's a trench. I don't know. Something that just kind of closes that area up slightly more. I don't think it needs to be a lot more. But yeah, I think that would be a good way of just countering that just a little bit. So I've talked about maps. Guns, I think, are pretty good. I felt pretty happy with guns. I felt like there was enough variety. Guns felt different enough. Nothing really felt too bad there. I'm sure, shotguns were glitched or too powerful or whatever. And, people were using a lot of, meta weapons and stuff. But I felt like there was enough variety. I saw people using M4s. I saw people using the AMAX. It's not the AMAX. Sniper rifles. I really don't feel like weapons were too bad. I feel like there was enough variety. I saw enough people using different weaponry. I'm sure that, there was, again, metas, and I'm sure people were gravitating towards certain things more than others, but I felt like I've seen enough variety that I don't think that's too big of a problem. Outside of that, I did have some of the stability issues. I had the game crash on me once or twice. That's not too bad for a beta, but just to mention that. And I had a glitch a couple times where I tried to go out to the menu. I tried to leave a match and go back to the main menu. And when I did that, it kind of glitched out and didn't let me go to the main menu, and I either had to play through the whole game or I had to close out of the application. Again, not the end of the world for a beta, but just something to mention. That was during weekend 2, but that's the only time I played, so I don't know if that was more stable during the first weekend. And then I thought I noticed some hit registration stuff. I'd be firing my gun and at people in the game, and I didn't think it seemed like it should be hitting, and it seemed like it wasn't. But again, that's hard to 100% know, because was that just a server mess up right then? Was that actual stability issues with the build? Was that just the weekend 2? I don't know. So ultimately, where I'm landing on Battlefield 6 is that like I said, I'm just whelmed. I'm not really mad about anything. I don't really have any man, nobody should play this game kind of feeling. Not that I would have that kind of feeling anyway, but my point is I'm not really trying to say you shouldn't be excited for Battlefield 6. But I'm also not highly impressed by Battlefield 6. I really thought as someone who used to really like Battlefield and has kind of gotten away from it over the years, I was kind of excited to oh man, here's a new Battlefield, and I'm really excited to jump back into it. And after playing the beta, I got kind of just yeah, it's Battlefield, and not in a positive way, but not really in a negative way either. But I noticed I wasn't oh man, I gotta jump back into the beta. I definitely jumped back into the beta a couple times. to make sure that I played it during the time it was up. But I definitely think I would have liked to have been more impressed by the beta, especially since it sounds like this was a good deal of the content that we're going to see at launch. I think there are a few more maps, and there's, some weapons we didn't see and some stuff like that. But yeah, I'm just hopeful that, servers are more stable when the game comes out. The additional content impresses, that kind of stuff. But yeah. So anyway, this was just kind of my top level thoughts on the game. I don't really have a whole lot more to say than that right this second. I'm sure as we hear some more information, I might make some more videos pertaining to Battlefield 6. But yeah, thank you for listening. Again, like I mentioned at the beginning, I stream every day. I usually stream either, around 7 a.m., maybe 1 p.m. EST. And sometimes I stream both times, and you can always catch my videos on YouTube at Zombie Soundwave also. And again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.